What if the reason you feel stuck, distracted, or unmotivated has nothing to do with your mindset? What if it's not that you lack discipline or willpower or clarity? What if the real reason is something you're not even noticing? We've been told for years that our thoughts control our reality. Change your thoughts, change your life. But what if that's only part of the story? What if your environment is actually shaping your behavior first? And your behavior is what's shaping your thoughts and eventually your identity. Because the truth is, your surroundings are not neutral. They are constantly influencing what you pay attention to, how you feel, and what you do, often without you even realizing it. The space around you, the noise, the lighting, the objects within reach, the digital world you're immersed in, it's all quietly programming your daily patterns. And if your environment is working against you, it can make even the strongest mindset feel like it's failing. But if your environment supports you, everything starts to shift more naturally. So, in this episode, we're going to flip the usual narrative. By the end, you'll understand how your environment is influencing you every single day on a mental, emotional, and even biological level. And more importantly, you'll learn how to start shifting your space in simple, practical ways that support focus, calm, and better habits without relying on constant willpower. Because real change doesn't start in your thoughts, it starts in what's around you. Welcome to Green Earth Essentials, where we explore holistic wellness, natural living, and the deeper connections between your environment, your body, and your mind. I'm your host, Michelle Jackson, and in today's episode, we're diving into a perspective that might completely change the way you approach personal growth. Let's break down the traditional narrative. We'll start with the story most of us have been taught. The idea that everything begins in your mind. Your thoughts create your feelings drive your actions, and your actions shape your life. On the surface, that makes sense, and in some ways it's true. But here's where it starts to break down. If thoughts are the starting point for everything, then why is it so hard to think your way into change? Why can you know what you should do and still not do it? Why can you tell yourself to focus, to relax, to get started, and your body just doesn't follow? This is where a lot of people get stuck because when the mindset first approach doesn't work, it's easy to turn that frustration inward. You start thinking, maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe I lack discipline. Maybe something's wrong with me. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the model itself is incomplete? Because there's something that comes before your thoughts more often than we realize. Your environment. A more accurate way to look at it is this: your environment shapes your behavior. Your behavior shapes your thoughts, and your thoughts over time shape your identity. Think about it. If your phone is always within reach, you're more likely to pick it up. If your space is cluttered, your mind feels scattered. If your environment is calm and intentional, your body starts to respond differently, often without effort. The behavior comes first, and the thoughts follow. And this shift changes everything, because now, instead of trying to force change from the inside out, you can start designing it from the outside in. This isn't about weakness. It's not about lacking willpower. It's about design. It's about recognizing that your brain responds to what's around you. And when you change your environment, you change the path your brain naturally wants to take. And that's a much more supportive place to start. Now let's go a little deeper into something most of us rarely stop to notice: the way our environment is constantly influencing us, quietly, subtly, and often invisibly, because your surroundings are doing more than just existing around you. They're shaping how you think, how you feel, and what you do, moment by moment. Start with your attention. Every notification, every open tab, every piece of clutter in your line of sight is competing for your focus. Even if you're not consciously engaging with it, your brain is still processing it in the background. That's mental energy being used, whether you realize it or not. Then there's your physical environment: lighting, air quality, temperature, sound. These things send continuous signals to your nervous system. Harsh lighting can feel activating or even stressful. Stale or stuffy air can make you feel sluggish. Constant background noise can keep your body in a low-level state of tension. On the other hand, soft lighting, fresh air, and gentle, consistent sounds can signal safety and calm. And then there's the emotional layer. Your environment can either feel supportive or slightly uncomfortable in a way that's hard to explain. A cluttered or chaotic space can create a sense of pressure or overwhelm. A space that feels intentional and clear can create ease, openness, even a sense of control. And the interesting part is, you don't always consciously connect the feeling to the environment. You just feel off, or distracted, or drained. Or on the flip side, you walk into a certain space, a cozy room, a quiet cafe, a place in nature, and suddenly your body softens. You feel calmer, clearer, more like yourself. Nothing about your thoughts changed in that moment. The environment did, and your body responded instantly. That's the key idea here. Most of this influence is happening below conscious awareness. You're not actively choosing how to respond to every detail in your environment. Your nervous system is doing that for you automatically, which means your environment isn't just a backdrop, it's an active participant in your mental and emotional state, shaping your experience in ways you may not even realize. Simplify the science. So, what's actually happening in your brain when your environment starts influencing your behavior? Let's simplify it. Your brain is always trying to be efficient. It's constantly looking for the path of least resistance, the easiest, fastest, most energy saving way to get through the day. That's not a flaw. That's how it's designed to keep you alive, which means whatever is easiest in your environment is usually what your brain will guide you toward. This is where dopamine comes in. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's about motivation and anticipation, and it's heavily driven by cues in your environment. If your phone lights up, your brain registers that as a potential reward. If something is within arm's reach, visible and easy to access, it becomes more attractive to your brain. You don't have to think about it. The cue triggers the behavior. Now layer in cortisol. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone, and it responds to things like chaos, unpredictability, and overstimulation. A cluttered space, constant noise, interruptions, visual overload. These all signal to your brain that something isn't quite stable. Even if you're not consciously stressed, your body can stay in a low level state of tension. And when that happens, focus drops, patience shortens, and everything feels just a little bit harder. So, if you're struggling to stay consistent, to feel calm, or to follow through on things, it's not necessarily because your brain is working against you. It's because your brain is responding appropriately to the environment it's in. And this is where things start to click. Because when you change the environment, you change the signals your brain is receiving. And when the signals change, your behavior often follows naturally. Your environment sets the default for your behavior, not your intentions, not your goals, not even your mindset, your environment. And once you understand that, you can start working with your brain instead of constantly feeling like you're fighting against it. Now, here's where this gets even more important to understand, because it's not just that your environment influences you, it's that many modern environments are designed to pull your attention, fragment your focus, and keep you overstimulated. Think about how often your attention is interrupted in a single day. Your phone lights up, a notification pops up, an app refreshes, a message comes in. Even when you're not actively engaging with it, your brain is constantly being pulled toward these tiny signals. It's like your attention is being chipped away piece by piece. Then there's digital clutter, multiple tabs open, endless scrolling, information coming at you faster than your brain can fully process. Your mind doesn't really get a chance to settle. And this isn't just happening on your screen. Physical spaces can be just as overstimulating. Bright artificial lighting, background noise, crowded rooms, visual chaos, all of it adds up. Your nervous system is taking in more than it was ever designed to handle at once. And this leads to something really important, what we could call an environment mismatch. Your brain and body evolved in environments that were slower, quieter, more predictable, where stimulation came in natural rhythms. But now you're living in spaces that are fast, loud, constantly changing, and filled with artificial cues competing for your attention. So when you feel distracted, overwhelmed, mentally fatigued, it's not a personal failure. It's a mismatch between your biology and your environment. And here's the part that really matters. A lot of these environments are intentionally designed this way. Apps are built to keep you engaged. Notifications are designed to bring you back. Spaces are often optimized for productivity or consumption, not for nervous system regulation. So, if you've ever felt like it's getting harder to focus, harder to relax, harder to just be present, it's not just you. You're responding exactly the way a human nervous system does when it's placed in an environment that's constantly pulling it in different directions. And once you see that clearly, something shifts, because you stop blaming yourself and you start getting curious about what around you might need to change. Let's bring this down into real everyday life, because this isn't just a theory. You've already experienced this, even if you didn't realize it at the time. Think about a messy or cluttered space. You walk into it, and almost instantly something in your body tightens. You might feel a subtle sense of overwhelm or resistance, or the urge to avoid being in that space altogether. not because you consciously decided to feel that way, but because your environment is signaling this is unfinished, this is chaotic, this requires energy, and your brain responds by pulling you away from it. Now think about your phone. If it's sitting right next to you within reach, lighting up with notifications, how often do you pick it up without even thinking? It's almost automatic. You didn't sit there and decide, yes, now is the perfect time to scroll. The cue was there. The behavior followed. Now shift to a different kind of environment, a space that feels calm, intentional, maybe a little bit cozy, soft lighting, a clear surface, maybe a familiar scent or gentle background sound. Notice how your body responds to that. You breathe a little deeper, your shoulders drop, your mind feels less scattered. You don't have to force yourself to relax. It starts happening on its own. That's environmental programming in action. And what's powerful about this is how small the shifts can be. Moving your phone out of reach, clearing off a single surface, adjusting the lighting, adding something that signals calm or focus. These aren't massive life changes, but they change the conditions your behavior is happening in. And when the conditions change, behavior often follows without effort, without force, without that constant internal battle. That's the part most people miss. You don't always need to push yourself harder. Sometimes you just need to change what's around you. So the right behavior becomes the easier, more natural choice. Because behavior change doesn't always come from trying more. Very often it comes from designing an environment where the behavior you want happens automatically. Now let's shift this in a more compassionate direction, because once you understand how much your environment is influencing you, it changes the way you relate to yourself. Instead of asking, why can't I just be more disciplined? You start asking, what kind of support does my environment need to give me? That's a completely different conversation, because the truth is, you don't need more discipline, you need more support. And support doesn't just come from other people. It comes from the spaces you live in every single day. Designing your environment isn't about aesthetics or perfection. It's about caring for your nervous system. It's about recognizing that your body responds to what it's surrounded by and choosing to create conditions that feel safer, calmer, and more supportive. Instead of forcing yourself to push through resistance, you reduce the resistance. Instead of expecting yourself to operate at your highest level in an environment that's draining you, you create an environment that meets you where you are. And there's something incredibly relieving about that, because it takes you out of that constant cycle of self-blame. It replaces pressure with curiosity, judgment with understanding. This approach is gentler. It's more sustainable because you're not relying on willpower that runs out, and it's more realistic because it works with your biology instead of against it. You're not trying to become a different person overnight. You're creating a space that allows the version of you you're trying to grow into to actually exist and function. And that's what real self-compassion can look like in practice. Not just how you talk to yourself, but what you surround yourself with. So now the question becomes, what can you actually do with this? How do you start shifting your environment in a way that feels simple and doable, not overwhelming? Let's break it down into a few practical strategies you can start using right away. First, reduce friction for the habits you want to build. Make them easy, visible, accessible. If you want to drink more water, keep it within arm's reach. If you want to read more, leave a book out where you'll see it. If you want to eat healthier, make those foods the most convenient option available. The easier something is to start, the more likely your brain is to choose it. Next, increase friction for the habits that drain you, not by forcing yourself to stop, but by making them just a little less convenient. Move apps off your home screen. Put your phone in another room when you need to focus. Create small barriers that interrupt the automatic pattern. You're not relying on willpower, you're changing the path. Then think about creating zones. Instead of trying to do everything in one space, give different areas a clear purpose. A space for rest, a space for focus, a space for creativity. Your brain starts to associate those environments with certain states, which makes it easier to drop into them without as much effort. Now let's talk about sensory inputs, because this is where subtle shifts can have a big impact. Lighting matters more than we think. Harsh, bright lighting can feel activating or even stressful, especially at night. Softer, warmer lighting can help signal calm and relaxation. Sound is another powerful influence. Constant background noise can keep your nervous system slightly on edge, while gentle, consistent sounds like soft music or nature sounds can create a sense of ease. And then there's scent. Scent is one of the fastest ways to influence your emotional state because it's directly connected to the brain's memory and emotional centers. Using essential oils in your space can act as a cue for how you want to feel. For example, something grounding like sandalwood or vetiver for relaxation, or something uplifting like citrus for energy and focus. Over time, your brain starts to associate those scents with certain states, making it easier to shift into them. And all of this leads into a simple concept you can start using today: the 5-minute environment reset. This isn't about overhauling your entire space. It's about taking 5 minutes to intentionally shift your environment in a way that supports how you want to feel. Clear one surface, adjust the lighting, move distractions out of reach, add something that signals calm or focus. Small changes done consistently can completely change the way your environment feels and how you respond to it. Because you don't need a perfect space. You just need a space that supports you a little bit more than it did before. Now let's take this one step deeper into identity, because this isn't just about habits, it's about who you believe yourself to be. Your identity isn't something you wake up with one day fully formed. It's something that gets built over time through repeated behaviors. What you do consistently becomes what you expect from yourself, and what you expect from yourself becomes who you believe you are. So, if your environment is shaping your behavior, it's also shaping your identity. This is where things really start to shift, because most people try to change their identity from the inside out. They tell themselves, I want to be more focused. I want to be calmer. I want to be more consistent. But if their environment is constantly pulling them in the opposite direction, those identities are hard to hold on to. It feels like you're trying to become someone while everything around you is reinforcing who you used to be. But when you change your environment, something different happens. You don't force identity change, you live into it. For example, if you create a space that feels calm, clear, and supportive, you start to behave differently in that space. You slow down. You breathe more deeply. You feel less reactive. And over time, those repeated experiences start to shape how you see yourself. You're not just someone trying to be calm. You become someone who feels calm. Not because you forced it, but because your environment made that state more accessible, more natural, more consistent. And that's the key idea. Your environment is either reinforcing who you are or who you're trying to become. Every cue, every object, every sensory detail is sending a message about what's normal for you. So when you intentionally shift your environment, you're not just changing your surroundings, you're changing the version of yourself that those surroundings make possible. As we bring this all together, I want you to remember this. Your environment is not neutral. It's not just sitting in the background of your life. It's actively shaping you every single day. It's influencing what you do, how you feel, what you focus on, and over time, even who you believe yourself to be. And if something in your life feels harder than it should right now, it doesn't automatically mean you're failing. It might just mean you're unsupported, unsupported by the space around you, unsupported by the cues your brain is receiving, unsupported by an environment that isn't aligned with how you actually want to feel and live. And that's something you can begin to change gently, gradually, and in ways that truly support you. So I'll leave you with a couple of questions to sit with. What in your environment is influencing you right now? And what's one small shift that could change how you feel every day? Because it doesn't take a complete overhaul. Even small environmental changes can create powerful ripple effects, shaping your behavior, your mindset, and your identity in ways that feel natural instead of forced. If you want to go deeper into ideas like this, exploring the connection between your environment, your nervous system, and your overall well-being, you can follow me on Substack at substack.com/ Green Earth Essentials. I share deeper reflections, insights, and practical tools there to support you on this journey. And as always, take what resonates, move at your own pace, and be gentle with yourself as you make these shifts. I'll see you in the next episode. This is Michelle Jackson, signing off.